In communities across Greater Boston, airBNB says in the last year it's generated more than $200 million in economic activity. Renting out a spare room or an entire home can be an easy way to earn extra cash. But there is pushback in many neighborhoods. Stephanie Lydon reports on efforts to regulate home sharing on Beacon Hill and in a town where an airBNB rental went very wrong.
The vote this fall at Linfield's town meeting was decisive to ban short-term rentals like the kind you book through airBNB in neighborhoods zoned for single-family homes.
You have to have restrictions, especially if you're renting your place out. You do, and that's it.
Like many of her neighbors, Fran Golden wants to keep things at Linfield the way they've always been, quiet. She lives just behind an expansive home at the end of this driveway where last May, as he'd done many times before, the homeowner used an online site to rent out his place for the weekend.
You could hear the party and the noise and the screaming.
It went from raucous to tragic when a partygoer was killed. It's an extreme example of how short-term rentals can disrupt a community. And it galvanized Linfield to deal with the issue on a local level. Right now, there are no state laws regulating the booming short-term rental business, something State Representative Aaron Michaelwitz is working to change.
Trying to strike the right balance of a framework of regulations that is appropriate, that protects the neighborhoods.
Michaelwitz lives in Boston's North End, a neighborhood where airBNB is so popular. He says some condos and apartment buildings feel like de facto hotels.
I've talked to people that have chased down rolling suitcases down the hall, asking them, where are you staying and who rented that place to you?
He'd like to make the short-term rental business more transparent so landlords and condo associations are aware when property is rented out. One idea, require hosts to register with their city or town.
airBNB has totally improved my life.
As Beacon Hill sharpens its focus on the online home-sharing business, airBNB has launched an ad campaign on local TV. A company spokesperson tells WGBH airBNB is not against regulation or even paying the same taxes hotels do, but says requiring hosts to register is the kind of red tape that goes against the ethos of the company, which is to make it easy to earn extra money.
It gives us that little income that's going to keep the city, for us, affordable, for the working people.
Statewide regulations on home sharing could also face pushback from local communities.
Shall not be leased or rented for a period of 30 days or less.
Linfield's town council says a one-size-fits-all law is unlikely to work in a state filled with diverse communities.
I think this is really a very local matter because what makes sense in Nantucket or Provincetown, which are vacation communities, doesn't necessarily make sense in Linfield, which is a kind of bedroom community.
Stephanie Lydon joins me now. Hi, Stephanie.
Hey, Jim.
So correct me if I'm wrong here. airBNB says some regulation is okay. And if I recall correctly, didn't they say we want to be taxed like hotels and the legislature refuses to tax a business that says tax me? Is that accurate or am I off base?
Well, airBNB has said, yes, tax us like hotels. I think legislators might take issue with the word refuse. It might be more a matter of prioritizing. Legislation last year never made it out of committee. The House Speaker has said it's going to be a priority this year. The representative...
Oh, so it may happen.
Yeah, and the representative we saw in the piece just now said, he really thinks there's much more responsiveness to this. There's more of an understanding of what this home-sharing economy is all about.
And I am totally sympathetic to the local people who are concerned about who's down the block, who's in the building, whatever. So if they're okay with some regulation, do I understand correctly as airBNB, their problem is with regulation of owners in local communities? Is that what their objection is?
It's the little guy. If you rent out a room in your house, or you rent out a house for a special event, you have to go to your city hall and you have to do paperwork. The way airBNB sees it, that's an obstacle.
Oh, the occasional, sometime
The occasional.
Rare.
Now, if I own many properties and I'm on airBNB or another home sharing site all the time, from airBNB's perspective, it makes sense to regulate me.
So they're okay with that?
They would like a nuanced approach, which has happened in some cities. So we'll see what happens here.
Love nuance. Nice to see you, Stephanie Lydon.
Nice to see you,
Thanks so
too.
much. Appreciate it.